Upon joining, they've pretty much made these organizations ineffective by stalling and stymieing the activity of these organizations.
Я считаю, что любую страну, которая вступает в какие-то организации, она должна соблюдать устав или какие-то правила поведения своей в этой организации. И никаких послаблений в этом отношении для России не должны представляться.
I think that any country that joins an organization has to abide by the laws or the regulations of this organization. And I think that there can't be any exceptions for a country such as Russia.
Хотя мы наблюдаем это наглядно видно по Чечне, очень многие послабления даются для России именно в том аспекте, которое было провозглашено, это борьба с терроризмом, это пресловутая борьба с терроризмом. Россия позволяет все почему-то.
We can see these exceptions when it comes to the situation in China. Russia is given incredible latitude and incredible freedom in conducting its so-called war on terror, and that they're basically allowed to do anything they want, anything they feel like, simply by naming it a counterterrorism.
То, что Россия натворила в Чечне за этот долгий период времени, это описанию не поддается. Нету таких преступлений, которые она там не совершала. Стирать с лица земли огромные города, села, убивать сотнями тысяч людей ради каких-то непонятных я вообще не могу понять, почему все это произошло, но этому нету никаких объяснений, и тем более абсолютно не было необходима такая жестокая расправа с этой маленькой Чечней. Хотя Чечня и маленькая, там тоже люди ничуть не хуже всех остальных, и не надо за это закрывать глаза.
Over the course of many years that this war has been going on in Chechnya, there are no crimes that Russia hasn't allowed itself to commit, be it razing whole cities and towns, be it the killing of over 100,000 individuals from the region. I can't even imagine what would justify these actions. I don't know why this was necessary. I don't think it was necessary to use so much force on such a tiny country. And despite the fact that it is a tiny country, it does have a population. It has the same people as live anywhere else, and they deserve the same level of respect as anyone else does.
Я уверен, что есть такие рычаги. Если их нет,
we're starting to run short on time, so I think what we're going to do is just ask a couple more questions and then ask you to briefly kind of go through, as we did in this last round, and just give brief answers. But we do have to be out of here in about 15 minutes. So we ask that you keep your answers as brief as possible. Just one question on my end. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom last year recommended that the U.S. impose a visa ban and freeze the assets of Kadyrov. What impact would these actions have on the situation in the North Caucasus and would have on Kadyrov? And then I think Michael has a couple questions.
And I just have one question, actually. I would like to ask the panelists who want to answer how the U.S. government can positively contribute to the improvement of the judicial system in Russia to end impunity against human rights violators such as Natasha Estemirova.
I would like to start with the second question. I think there are many ways of doing so. Once again, there are practical steps and political diplomatic steps. Practical steps should be to greater cooperate with law universities, take future lawyers, future judges, future persecutors to the other countries where the justice functions better than in Russia, to support their postgraduate studies, graduate studies, that they see other examples, that what they see on everyday level in Russia. to support the academies and the schools who work on law in difficult conditions, and to make as many practical exchanges as possible also with all the people acting within justice. And once again, there is a political message to pass through, which is that the violations of human rights and the complete dependence of justice to political powers is something which is simply not acceptable. Very clear example of that, which I would really love to attract the attention of United States and all the other countries, is the Israelov's case in Vienna, which is now going on outside Russia, so we have a greater possibility. I was, to be very honest, astonished that there was so few attention to this case on diplomatic levels, and there were very few international observers. There were NGOs observing, but didn't have much diplomatic missions in the room. And that should be seen as a unique opportunity, because for once, Kadyrov's crimes are passing in front of the independent court in the independent country. And despite this, when Austrian justice has reclaimed the cooperation of Russia within this legal case, it was completely refused and denied, and the trial, which should have taken 2 months maximum, is already running over a year, and there is still no result. And we are much afraid that only the second level participants would be brought to justice, but the actual killer won't be brought to justice. And the indictment very clearly says that there are all the reasons to believe, and there are proofs for that and justification for that, that Kadyrov was personally involved in ordering this murder. And Russia completely ignores the decision of independent court and names someone against whom such important charges are being pronounced in the European, one of the European courts. They nominate him once again for the presidential mandate. So this is something where the red light should be on. And that's something where United States, as all the other countries, speaking about justice system, should really say that this is not acceptable and put greater efforts in monitoring this case and promoting the message this case delivers. So I will maybe leave more time for the others to answer.
On the question of the judicial system, I'm not sure that I would necessarily begin with that as the priority. I think that in the current environment, one of the main issues is the registration of opposition parties. I think that the judicial system, to a large degree, reflects the political will of the people running Russia, and the priority should be to liberalize the political system, to have a more authentic contest between different parties in the Duma elections that are coming up, and then in the presidential elections. I think that would have then a positive impact on the whole system as a whole. I don't think that sort of an approach that focuses on the judiciary can impact the overall situation as well. On Kadyrov, I think that a lot of the people that I talked to in the region would see in this even a symbolic kind of message, or they would see it at least as a kind of recognition of a real problem and a moral statement that has been missing. A lot of people tend to characterize Kadyrov as somebody who's brought stability, that this is this is somehow a better system than what has existed before. And something like sanctions would characterize the system in a way that, and him in a way that's more in keeping with how most of the people that I interact with, be they activists or journalists or just people in the region, it would validate their perception of reality, and that's important. It's important for them to understand that there are similarities in how things are viewed here and how they are on the ground there.